Wednesday meeting of the Kansas State Board of Education is called to order.
Tina is here.
I was going to say we have 9 members present. Betty Arnold is not here today. Dina is taking her seat right now. For today's agenda, do we have any changes to the agenda, board members? Forgive me while I pull up my hand-raising app. You can raise your hand. I heard something. Kathy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do want to ask if we could possibly poll, and I'm sorry because I cannot find my printed agenda for today, the vote on the regulations licensure. Thank you. Number 7
Number
on our
7.
agenda. I truly would love some more time to dig into this since it didn't happen at the December meeting, and then with the holidays, I have not had the ability, like I would prefer to really look at this and be able to ask questions that make sense.
Okay.
So that's my request, if we could do that.
All right. So we have a motion to pull number 7 from today's agenda. Do I have a second? Michelle? Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. It's unanimous. Oh, unanimous? No? Okay. Opposed? Yes. And sorry, 1. What's our count today? We have 8 in favor and 1 against. Motion passes. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Or, sorry, I guess I was asking for the amendment. We just did that. Sorry, guys. It's been a long night. All right. I'd like to welcome this morning Beth Foltz. I'm sorry? We do still need to vote. Yep. Okay. Apologies, Beth. Give us just a moment. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Michelle, and a second. Dina? All in favor? Opposed? 8-1. Motion passes. Beth, now you may begin. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Haas, Commissioner, board members. It's a pleasure to come to you today. The plan is for our student organizations to share. Evidently, they're just walking in, so timing is perfect, right? I think they had a little parking problem this morning. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you Natalie Clark. She's the newest member of the KSDE leadership team, and she works on career standards and assessments, and her primary responsibilities would be career and technical education. Last month, you might remember, for those of you that think back to, that was a long time ago, but we had the work-based learning presentation, and she works with work-based learning, and then she also works with IPS. So Natalie will be here in front of you several times over the next few months, but today I'm going to turn it over to her and let her introduce the students.
Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you, Chair Haas, Commissioner Watson, members of the Board of Education. It is my privilege today to get to introduce these young leaders. Career and technical student organizations in Kansas are represented here this morning. These students are the presidents of their respective organizations, and the total number of students in career and technical student organizations last year was 23,657. I'm going to introduce them, and then they're going to come up to the podium and share with you how their organization plays a role in helping fellow students work toward post-secondary success through the individual plan of study process. So I'm going to introduce them, and if they'll step forward, and then I'll let them take over. We have BPA President Eleanor Warren from Blue Valley High School. Okay. DECA President Joy Yan, Blue Valley North High School. FBLA President Sophia Weber, Harrington High School. FCCLA President Kara Kunselman, Satana Junior Senior High School. FFA President Mackenzie Anderson, Andale High School, Renwick FFA. HOSA President Ella Rooms, Frontenac High School. Skills USA President Chanez Hatcher, Olathe Advanced Technical Center. He's not here with us today, okay. And TSA President Jace Quirin, Parsons High School. thank you all for being here. We appreciate all that you do to lead your respective organizations. So I will invite the next member up.
And you're welcome to have a seat while, as you take the podium. So if it's up to you.
Okay. Eleanor, if you'd like.
You can also move chairs up to make sure you have plenty.
Yeah.
Okay, hi, I'm Eleanor Warren, and I'm with Business Professionals of America. So I'm here presenting from Blue Valley High School, and as you know, we're presenting today about how our CTSOs help with the IPS, the Individual Plan of Study. So I did a little bit of looking into what the IPS entails, and it talked a lot about preparing for post-secondary success and having flexible career goals that combine with working today for what we're doing tomorrow. It's really hard to take the classes you want and do the activities you want if you don't know where you're going after high school. And so the great thing about BPA is that there are 6 different sort of categories of events that you can compete in and, gain new skills in. And so regardless of what you want to do, BPA has an event for those students. We have events in finance, IT, health, marketing, digital communications, essentially everything in the business world BPA has an event for. And so the great thing is, even if you start in one area, say you start in IT, you can easily switch the next year or even the next competition into a different area and totally change gears. But if you really like where you are, like for example, I've been competing in the marketing, management, and communication sort of category of events all throughout high school. And so I've been able to gain a lot of good skills in those areas and sort of work to pursue my post-secondary success by staying in those events. But I also have friends, and I've talked to other people throughout the state who have switched events, and they've been able to find what works for them, so that instead of figuring that out in college, where they've already picked a college and a major and potentially internships, things that are a little more serious, they can compete in these BPA events, see where their skills lie, and see where their interests lie before actually having to graduate high school and make those big decisions. So essentially, BPA has a very wide variety of events, and that is a great opportunity for students to learn what they love and then get better at doing what they love. Thank you, and then next we have Joy from DECA.
Hi everyone, my name is Joy and I go to Blue Valley North High School and I'm representing DECA. Do you want me to change the slides? Okay. So for DECA, I'm gonna kind of split it into 4 categories. I'll split it with D, E, and C, and A. So for D, I'm going to describe what DECA actually is. So DECA is an organization that splits into 4 different business career clusters. So finance, hospitality and tourism, management, and finance. Okay, and so basically students are able to go under those 4 different career clusters and they do competitions. So there's the virtual business challenge, there's project management events, and then there's role play events. And so students are able to go outside of the classroom and actually participate and immerse themselves into these 4 career clusters. And for example, freshman year, I was in the hospitality and tourism event, and so I was able to create a presentation and role play event over managing a hospital and also managing a hotel. And so as I moved on, I kind of realized that maybe that wasn't the best option for me, and so I went into the restaurant and food management service. And so with that, I was able to kind of, like Eleanor said, go into different types of career clusters and see what I really liked. And so with this, a lot of people were able to also go into different types of project management events. And as I went on, I really enjoyed the career awareness project. And so I went into a CPR initiative and I realized I really liked with the health administration. So with DECA, you can go with a ton of different career clusters and also talk with a vast alumni, and so alumni is over 178,000 people. And so with E, we have expanding your network. And so with the Kansas Career Conference and then also the ICDC conference in April, we have in Orlando. And then C, you're able to connect with a variety of people. And then A, we have an alumni network. And so we also connect with our website and then also the Kansas DECA Instagram page. And so next up we have Sophia Weber from FBLA.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sophia Weber, and I'm a junior at Harrington High School. I'm the Kansas FBLA State President, and I'm also the National FBLA Mountain Plains Region Vice President. As the world's largest student business organization, FBLA's mission of inspiring and preparing students to become community-minded business leaders in a global society through relevant career preparation and leadership experiences has impacted my life and the lives of over 230,000 other FBLA members worldwide. Through FBLA, I have been able to see the development of young students as they create and plan for goals that will challenge them in the future. Our organization is able to start this with middle school students who are focused on gaining knowledge of foundational leadership, learning about relationships, and understanding how to use their strengths to become an effective team member. Along with these goals, these students spend the majority of their time focused on career exploration. As an organization, our goal for them is that they can understand career paths and gain knowledge of the skills needed to pursue those different career paths. We give them the environment they need to explore those different careers that are available to them in the business world and beyond that, because we truly believe that every career is a business career. Once students are ready for the high school division, their experience becomes focused on application of skills because they have the foundation they need. Students are able to focus on fewer careers and develop their career portfolios. By the time an FBLA high school student has become an upperclassman, the goal for them is to create a post-secondary plan. Our organization is so focused on giving students in high school an individualized experience within this organization because there are so many opportunities and varieties of careers that are available to those students. We also understand that they come into this organization at very different stages of their lives, and we want to ensure that they are gaining the knowledge, skills, experience, and behaviors that they need in order to be successful after high school. This is especially vital to aiding students in their academic individual plan of study because our organization is giving them the environment that they need to focus on specific career pathways and curriculum by offering real-world opportunities. We do this through academic competitions, leadership development, and education programs that are able to be integrated into the curriculum of our classrooms with the help of our advisors. As students, they compete in different academic competitions that closely relate to their career or present challenges that any individual will come and face with in any career that they choose. They start to identify where they want their focus to be. I have been around so many students that have said that because of FBLA and those competitions or leadership opportunities, they figured out through the business division education programs that are made available to them, that they knew what they wanted to do with their lives. Future Business Leaders of America has helped me tremendously to prepare for the post-secondary goals that I choose to set for myself. My favorite part of this organization will always be connecting with members and watching them expand themselves to create goals for their future that are designed to make their communities better places. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kara Kunselman. I'm from Satana, and I am the Kansas State President of FCCLA. FCCLA is also known as the Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, and it is a CTSO organization with family as its main focus. But don't let that fool you. It gives students many basic skills that are necessities for in the workforce and at home. These skills include, but are not limited to, planning, goal setting, time management, problem solving, decision making, and interpersonal communication. These are essential skills to have in anywhere you need them. FCCLA members are exposed to work-based learning and business and industry experiences through family and consumer sciences education. Students also gain industrial awareness through competitive events, such as STAR events, which are also known as students taking action with recognition. You can do anything in these events. There's career investigation that allows you to learn about any career of your choice. Do you want to learn about being an astronaut? You sure can. You can even do fashion design, which gives students a taste of what it's like to be a fashion designer in New York City. Or you could do job interview, which helps you learn the skills that you need once you're out in the workforce and you're going to be in a job interview and make sure you need to ace that job interview. This could help students with their IPS, also known as the individual plans of studies. which helps guide students through their journey and post-secondary education. IPS allows students to explore different careers. FCCLA does just that with its 4 career pathways: human services, hospitality and tourism, education and training, and visual arts and design. Students learn all about the different careers that fit into these pathways. Students gain even more skills, such as applied academic skills, critical thinking skills, resource management, information use, and much, much more. This helps students with their post-secondary educational opportunities. They are able to look in so many careers in FCCLA. Students can work at their career choices with all the amazing information FCCLA has. Helping students get as many scholarships and career opportunities is a main goal of FCCLA. FCCLA can benefit anyone's IPS, and that is our one main gain. Personally, FCCLA has given me the chance to look in my career choices. Before I joined FCCLA, I had no idea what I was doing with my life, but now I know exactly where I'm going. I was able to fall in love with many careers and finally figured out what I was going to do. I will be an FCS teacher and go straight back to working with FCCLA while I teach, and I cannot wait to teach family and consumer sciences education. Without the organization, I would not be where I am today. I would not be able to do all the things I can do. So that is just one way FCCLA can make sure that you are prepared for your future goals. Thank you. Next, we have Mackenzie.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mackenzie. I am currently a freshman at Kansas State University, and I major in agriculture education, but I went to Andale High School, which is like 20 minutes west of Wichita. In more than 220 high schools across the state of Kansas, agriculture education advisors and FFA advisors play a critical role in helping students find success in their individual plan of study through direct relationship with the 3-component school-based agriculture education model. Students like myself are provided with opportunities for leadership development, personal growth, and career success through their involvement. Agriculture education is composed of a 3-component model. These include classroom instruction, supervised agriculture experience, and FFA. So now I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into these 3 because they're what make our organization go. National FFA recognizes 25 different career and leadership development events. These stretch from livestock judging, which everybody recognizes FFA for, all the way down to employability skills. These give all students the opportunity to discover a wide array of careers they may have never discovered before. I competed in the employability skills event when I was in high school. For this, I had to look up and discover many different agriculture jobs, choose one I wanted to apply for, prepare a resume and cover letter, and go in a mock interview in front of a panel of judges. At the time, I thought this was the hardest thing I had ever done in my entire life. Little did I know, to this day, I would continue to use that resume and cover letter, and that mock interview in front of the panel of judges has helped me with everything I've done beyond just going into job interviews. That being said, Kansas FFA provides many more opportunities than just career and leadership development events. My high school provided an internship program through the agriculture education program. In doing this, I once again got to research careers that I wanted to go into and intern 2 people 4 days a week. 4 days a week. This allowed me to discover what I did like to do in the workplace, and more importantly, what I did not like to do in the workplace. Lastly, every student in FFA gets to have a supervised agriculture experience. An SAE is an experience where students get to implement everything they learn in the classroom to the real world. I went to high school with a student named Austin Simon. He is one of those students who, when he came to school to go to the shop, and that was it. He did not like school. Austin's SAE was he built and sold chicken coops. His business took off. To this day, he continues to sell chicken coops, and he went on to win proficiency state awards through Kansas FFA. Austin came back one day to my high school and said he didn't think he would have graduated high school without his SAE. Supervised agriculture experiences make students excited to come to school. These are just a few of the major opportunities that FFA provides for developing a student's individual plan of study. Agriculture education and FFA provides students an opportunity to volunteer, discover interests, develop soft and hard skills,
and many more. These skills will help students succeed in the future. Thank you. Next, we have Ella from HOSA.
Right. Good morning. I'm Ella Rooms, representing HOSA. I'm actually from Pittsburgh High School, not Frontenac. Okay. As some of you may know, HOSA Future Health Professionals is the premier pipeline for students to the healthcare industry. You might be saying, well, that's international HOSA. What does Kansas HOSA do for our students? It's especially true for Kansas HOSA because we are owned and operated by KU Medical Center. Through this partnership, students in Kansas are given more opportunities like job shadowing and internships, not only in their own communities, but even at medical centers like KU Med and their satellite clinics. Like many other CTSOs, HOSA has many competitive events for our students to partake in. Kansas HOSA actually allows students to participate in over 50 events, some individually, others in pairs, and even group events. Many of these events fold right into the health science class curriculum. For example, in many intro health level classes, students learn about medical law and ethics such as torts and the history of medical policy. Kansas HOSA has an event called Medical Law and Ethics. I competed in this event my sophomore year while concurrently enrolled in our school's Health Science 1 class. What I had learned in Health Science 1 helped me in my event, and studying for this event helped me understand the Health Science 1 curriculum better. Without doing any additional studying for this event other than what was provided in my Health Science 1 class, I actually won second in the state. Kansas HOSA has a huge focus on leadership. While we might be a healthcare organization, we have many events solely focused on leadership. So no matter what classes a student takes or what career they want to pursue, those leadership skills will help them succeed. I might be someone who is very interested in the pre-medical side of the Kansas HOSA organization, but my vice president actually doesn't want to go into healthcare at all. She does HOSA solely for the leadership skills, and it has worked tremendously. At our conference, Kansas HOSA brings in dozens of college and technical programs throughout the state to come discuss post-secondary plans with our members. Fortunately for our students interested in medicine, our wonderful partnership with KU Med will ensure their success in college programs. As you can see, Kansas HOSA is an invaluable organization that furthers students' education through our partnerships, events, and community outreach. I hope that Kansas HOSA continues to thrive and grow with the help of the Board of Education. Thank you. Up next, we have Skills USA.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shanez, and I am a senior at Olathe East High School, and I'm the state president for Skills USA. Most students go to high school to learn and mostly prepare for post-secondary education, which can be a very stressful process for everyone. We've always been told to get ourselves out there and make sure we get engaged and get involved as much as we can, because most of the time, high school by itself is not enough to prepare us. Skills USA is mostly about working together to prepare America for work. Skills USA is mostly working together to prepare America for a skilled workforce. Me and my fellow state officer have took that advice that all our advisors are telling us to put ourselves out there, and we decided to join Skills USA. The most important things to prepare for post-secondary education is professional skills like communication, leadership, work ethic, time management, and also scholarships, employment opportunities. Those are really important. Now, what is post-secondary success, and how do we prepare for it? We prepare for it by practicing and learning professional skills. Professional skills are career competencies and abilities used in the workplace that are beneficial for nearly any jobs. There are two types: soft skills that are communication, leadership, time management, work ethics, and hard skills that are specifically for a certain job. Skills USA's motto is preparing for leadership in the world of work. Before joining Skills and before the conference, the fall leadership conference, I thought I was a great leader. We all had to be a leader at one point in our lives, whether we chose, sometimes we chose to be a leader, sometimes we have to be a leader. And after the conference, I realized there was so much things I learned about being a great leader. And Skills USA has taught me that being a great leader is by showing integrity, self-awareness, courage, respect, empathy, gratitude, and effective communication, as it allows us to better understand people and situations. It enables us to overcome differences, build trust and respect, to create conditions for sharing creative ideas and problem solving. Skills USA has invited so many great guest speakers with amazing communication skills that we have watched from them and learned. We've also went through a public speaking training, which was really eye-opening and had us learn so many stuff about communication. There is also the most reason for students not accomplishing post-secondary success is monetary problems or just simply not finding jobs. Skills USA offers so many scholarships that are available in their website, but also they have so many competitions in everything, whether you know what you want to be in the future, such in healthcare, construction, welding, but also for students who do not know what they want to do in the future. There is job interviews, there is t-shirt design, and there is public speaking. Now, I asked in the beginning, what is post-secondary success? Post-secondary success is high school graduates who obtain an industry-recognized certificate, higher education, or go to school for more than 2 years. An industry-recognized certification is when an industry-recognized student in a district or state level or national level, which Skills USA already does. Skills USA has worked for many years to help us, to teach us post-secondary success, and is still working on it. I and many other people have learned so many skills, and are so proud of it, and we want to learn more. In the leadership conference last year, there was a student who was a previous state officer at Skills. She went to a competition. She was interested in phlebotomy, and she got a job right there. She was hired because there's so many people in the industry that go to those competitions and watch you do what you want to do, and they give you interviews. They ask you if you would like to work with them, and that inspired me because I also want to pursue healthcare and a phlebotomy program, and that motivated me to want to continue with Skills USA. Thank you, guys. Next is TSA J.
Good morning, everyone. It is an absolute honor to be standing in front of you speaking today. My name is Jace Quirin. I'm a junior at Parsons High School in Parsons, Kansas, and I'm representing TSA. So 4.5 years ago at Parsons High School, my tech ed teacher, who was also the robotics teacher, came to me and said, "Hey, I'm starting a new club. It's TSA. It's a thing that's been around for a long time, but it's going to be new to us, and you're going to do it." I was hesitant at first, but then I decided that, maybe I should do this. I've enjoyed the classes he's taught in the past and the things that he's done, so I decided to do TSA. That was the best decision that I have ever made. I've been a part of TSA for the past 4 years and a state officer for the past 3 years, and this year is my first year as president. So whenever I got the email about what the topic was that I had to speak on, we'd been doing the IPS in our school, but it hasn't really hit me on what it was. So doing some research and diving into what TSA actually is, and then diving into what IPS actually is, the first thing I looked at was the TSA mission statement. When looking at the TSA mission statement, it reads, "The Technology Student Association enhances personal development, leadership, and career opportunities in STEM." That is the first part of it. The part of that stuck out to me was the personal development, leadership, and career opportunities in STEM. The technology aspect of the world has been dramatically increasing over the past 10 years, and we expect it to keep increasing as such. So the part of that stuck out to me was the enhancing the personal development and the leadership, and that's whenever it hit me that TSA is IPS. So like I said, as the technological aspect of the world increases, it is more important than ever to explore career options in STEM with the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. TSA has a wide range of competitions and events that allow members to explore future career options. And those competitions, like I said, are a very wide range, and they do not limit to just one area of technology or science. Examples of these career opportunities that are in TSA are architectural design, biotechnology design, coding, CAD, debating technological issues, fashion design, future technology teacher, music production, and software development. So as you can see from that list I just read, if you want to design clothes, there is something for you. If you want to be a politician, if you want to be a lawyer and you want to debate, there is something for you. If you want to do biotechnology design, there is something for you. And then the other part of that is there is no limit to what you are competing in. You can compete in as many competitions or as few competitions as you want to. So you can just kind of try everything through the time that you're doing TSA and figure out what you like and what you want to do as your future career, and there is no limit to that. Myself, I've enjoyed the debating technological issues. I went to nationals in TSA for the past 2 years, and it is something that I have loved to do, and that has made me decide that I want to be a lawyer and eventually a politician in my life. So with that being said, I want to thank you all for letting us speak today, and then if you have any questions for any of us, please let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, students, and if you have any questions for the students individually or as a whole, I welcome that at this time.
Thank you all so much. There are certainly some similar themes across your presentations, and we heard a lot about post-secondary success and IPS. We are running a little bit behind schedule, but I'm going to start the questions with, you focused on IPS. I'm curious, does it ever get in your way, or does it help you as you're moving forward? If maybe 2 or 3 of you want to comment, I see a hand over there.
Well, first of all, I just want to say I think it's definitely helped a lot of students, especially at my school, just because my definition of post-secondary success is so different from my classmates' definition of post-secondary success. And in education, it's nobody's job to try to make those two success stories the same, but more so it's your job to help that student get to the point that they want to. And you don't have to push them into going farther or lessening their view of what they want to do. But I think the IPS I've been able to see with my students, and also the effect that it's had on our educators in showing them that there's so many different options for students. They don't have to go to this avenue, and they don't have to go to college. They can go straight into the workforce. They can go to technical education. There's just so many different options for them. And I think the IPS, the way that, at least at our school, the way it's laid out, has definitely helped educators and students be able to see that there are those different options, and that there's so much out there, and it doesn't just have to look one way. I think a lot of the previous generations have been raised with it looking one way, like the success story is one version. But now I think it's definitely been incorporated in our schools that there's so many different versions of a success story. That would be my answer. Thank you.
For me personally, I think that the IPS, whenever you first get into high school and, it's a month before you start and the counselor comes in and they sit you down and they say, let's plan out your whole 4 years of high school right here and now, seems a little bit daunting. But as my school has continued to implement the IPS and it has only grown, I've actually seen that it has helped students so much. That initial meeting where you can look at your 4 years and you can see what you can accomplish in our high school. The feeling is almost relieving because, going into high school is nerve-wracking. And, if you don't know what you want to do, there are so many different avenues you can take. And personally at my school, using the IPS helps us get there. Like Sophia said, there is not one definition of post-secondary success, and I know that my school really focuses on that, telling students that they can, go to college or they can go to a technical program, but they need to do something after high school, and that, we have all these programs with community colleges and different, CTSOs like you see here today that will help these students to be successful in their post-secondary life. So I think that the IPS has definitely helped all students in Kansas and these CTSOs.
Thank you. We've got a couple more questions from other board members here, so I'll let them go and you can take turns responding. Anne?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Where's FBLA? Who's the FBLA? Hi there. Yeah, I had the pleasure of helping judge FBLA last year, and it was the junior high elevator speech. The funny thing was we did it in an elevator. So it was really fun. But really enjoyed working with FBLA, and I'm thrilled to hear your voices tell us today that everything we hoped would be gained by an individual plan of study together with some, career exploration is happening, that it's not locking you into something, but opening doors so you can explore whatever you want to explore while you're young enough to, find some things out. I'm curious, so just show me, raise your hands. How many of you throughout high school found, because you got to explore, that you were shifting your thoughts about where you might want to go? Perfect. So, you didn't get locked into anything. So my question is, maybe for a couple people, how beneficial to you personally has it been to be able to do some career exploration before you get out of high school?
Sorry, let me restart that. Since I'm in college, I have ultimately decided, college students decided what they want to do. When I first started high school, I wanted to be a math teacher. I am as far from that as I could ever be now. But exploring careers through our extracurriculars, through our organization, through our CTSOs, has helped me a lot. I would have never discovered agriculture education. It wasn't even on my radar until I got into high school. But there's a lot more into that than just going into agriculture education or going into what your teacher was to you because you want to be that way to somebody else. So personally, that career exploration that you do through these. I have done everything from livestock judging to horse judging to any livestock animal you could think of. I have judged it. But in doing that, I have discovered skills. We have to give different reasons classes where you have 30 minutes to memorize a 3-minute speech and you have to go give it in front of a judge. Yes, it's a lot. But that career exploration taught me that I'm good on my feet and I'm good and I enjoy talking in front of people and I don't want to be a person to sit behind a desk all day. And so not just discovering what specific careers I wanted to go in, but discovering those specific skills that I wanted to go into or avoid.
I kind of wanted just to share like a little story. So I walked into freshman year thinking that I wanted to be a doctor. I took a lot of like medical courses in middle school, and I was pretty set on being a doctor. But then when I tried DECO, an upperclassman told me to try it out. And I knew it was very business oriented. And so after taking it, I did a project management event. And so that project management event, we were supposed to create a business plan. And so what we did is we tackled the mental health force. And so we basically created an app to help students with the pandemic with their mental health. And so after that, we created mitigation plans, contingency plans, and we had a 20-page thing that we presented to judges at the International Career Development Conference. And after this experience, I realized how much I enjoyed creating plans and actually presenting to people and talking about ways to improve the education system, which is why in college, I'm very interested in studying economics with the path of education studies. And so I think with DECA, it has really helped me figure out what I really enjoy and actually gave me real world experiences through presentation, role play, and also talking to judges and receiving a lot of feedback because a lot of the judges are professionals in the business career clusters. And so I was able to understand a little bit more about what they enjoy doing and kind of connecting with them and building a network. So thank you.
Question for Michelle?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just curious, with raise of hands, in your busy schedules, I know some of you are maybe from big schools, smaller schools, and it sounds like you're doing a lot of competitions, gaining a lot of those skills and knowledge. How many of you through, like freshman through senior year, have had a part-time job? It's great. So you were able to use those skills and then for show of a raise of hands and get those part-time jobs in some of the things that you're interested in doing. Great. Thank you. Thanks for your presentation today. I appreciate it. And we'll see you later this afternoon for lunch.
I was just going to point out that we do have lunch with the entire group. And I just want to say, you know, I enjoy lunch so much. It's a great opportunity for board members to talk individually with students, and we learn so much from that. And thank you for sharing your views on post-secondary success and just what it means to flex and be able to find your path and the thing that you're interested in. So congratulations on all of your success so far. I know that you're going to go many places. And I'm sure we're going to take some photos, am I right?
A group photo would be nice if we have time. Do you guys want to?
I see we're still missing Mr. McNeese, but we'll go ahead and get started on the Kansas Mathematics Proficiency Project Report. Kansas MTSS and alignment.
Let
Welcome.
me kick this off, and then
You
I'll
bet.
give it over to Todd.
Commissioner?
So as you know, or I say that, for the new board members, you won't know. Part of the set-aside money with ESSER was for learning loss. Had to be for learning loss at the state level. School districts were required to set aside some money for learning loss, so were we. The previous board said we're going to spend $17 million in literacy training and mathematics training for teachers throughout the spectrum, and also pre-service. We purchased, because there was a literacy program on the science of reading called LETTERS. And there's no E in that, it's an acronym, LETRS. But when we looked for mathematics, even the company that sold LETTERS said, our math isn't that good. And so we reached out to our TASN network, which is our technical assistance network. Todd runs the multiple system of tiered support, and said, Todd and Linda, can you find us good math training that really will help our teachers? And they've done that. You're going to hear Todd talk about that. And so not only are we going to get to train our teachers with the money that you allocated for that, it will live on because we will own that. And so we aren't training in math right now. We're training in literacy because that money is going to run out. We can then pick up in math, and we don't have enough time with teachers, to pull them out of classrooms to do both. So this work's going to go on for a long time, but I just want to go back and give you a little of the history of what brings us to today. So this is part of the $17 million that the board allocated in ESSER to do literacy training, the science of reading, and then do mathematics training and what we're calling the science of math. And Todd has been gracious to lead this effort. So thanks, Todd, for being here.
You bet. And now that Dr. Watson just explained half my presentation, I'll explain the other 3 slides and let you guys take a break. So who's ready to talk about math for 3 hours? Anyone? Any takers? Probably not, right? So as Dr. Watson just probably more eloquently explained than I could, we are in the midst of developing the Kansas Math Proficiency Project. And as he said, my name is Todd Wiedemann. I'm a co-director for the Kansas MTSS and Alignment Project. Have been for 14 years. Prior to that, I was a principal, teacher, and coach for 18 years. Most of those 18 years was spent being a turnaround principal at a few schools. But as he said, a couple years ago or so, he approached us and asked us if this was possible, and a couple people from KSDE and myself started looking into programs, off-the-shelf programs, and it just didn't exist, just wasn't out there. Anything that was out there was exactly that. It was a boxed program that wasn't aligned to Kansas state math standards, and they would own it. So down the road, even if it was a pretty good fit right now, if our standards moved, changed, whatever, if our outcomes changed at some point, we didn't have the ability to easily change that program. We had to go through the publisher. And sometimes that's doable, but costs a lot of money. Sometimes it's not even doable. They won't even talk to you about doing that. So unfortunately, the couple people at KSD that had started this project with me left shortly after this exploration began. So I went back to Commissioner Watson and then Deputy Commissioner Nguyen-Swander and said, hey, what now? And they agreed to give me the green light to continue the work, continue looking. So I did, and then they also put the work under the direction of Dr. David Fernkopf and Dr. Stephen King here at KSDE. So we've kept moving the needle, and I have folks on my team, a team of math experts and pre-K experts that have also been deeply involved in this work. And eventually, we decided to go with Dr. Brad Witzel and Sarah Powell. And Dr. Sarah Powell is an associate professor with the University of Texas at Austin. And Dr. Brad Witzel is the Adelaide Worth Daniels Distinguished Professor from Western Carolina University. And we went with these two leading experts in the areas of research and instruction around mathematics to help us build this program that Kansas will forever own. And we'll be able to modify it as and when needed. It will be available to all Kansas educators, asynchronous and synchronously, through those learning opportunities from the time it's developed on. So you may be asking, well, what is Kansas Math Proficiency Project? Well, it's imperative that every Kansas math teacher has a strong understanding of research-based teaching strategies. From the last several decades, a robust research base has emerged about how students learn math. We need to rely on that research base for the teaching and learning of math, just like we are doing on the literacy side now. It's also essential that every math teacher in Kansas has a strong understanding of their math content. Not only of the math content, but its relation to our state standards. Whether that is counting, geometry, fractions, counting, doesn't matter. They must have a strong understanding. So in essence, effective math teaching requires a combination of strong teaching skill and strong understanding of math content. Well, with the Kansas Math Proficiency Project, we aim to fill both of those buckets for every Kansas math teacher simultaneously. That's the goal of this project. And I remind you, we aim to do that pre-K-12, not just certain grades, pre-K-12. So for every teacher across the grades, pre-K through grade 12, they would start with these 5 modules. Each one of these modules is going to be 30 to 90 minutes long, depending on which module we're talking about. Each module can be accessed via in-person learning, or it can be accessed via a Moodle course. Moodle is simply an online learning platform where our materials will be housed. Again, KSDE will be in charge of it. They'll still own everything. If they decide to switch platforms at some point, no problem. They own all of the content. Moodle is simply like a big server. Just think of it that way. It's where everything sits so others can access it. So for Module A, where all of our teachers will begin, the focus is on understanding that all students can be successful with math. All students can be successful with math. If you think about back to your own schooling, I doubt that you ever heard anyone say, well, I'm just not very good at reading. And that was allowed, or people laughed or joked about it. But I bet you did hear people say, you may have said it yourself at some point, well, I'm just not very good at math. And it was allowed or maybe laughed at. We have to change that context. We have to change that way of thinking. We have to have a belief, a collaborative belief that every child has the ability to be good at math. Research has proven they do. We emphasize that earlier math learning and success is absolutely necessary for later math learning and success. And if there's any logicalness to anyone's thinking, that statement makes sense. But we have to put it within our programs. Module B, the focus is on understanding that math knowledge develops across grade levels. There's a progression to instruction and learning. We cannot educate kids in isolation. It must be progression. It must be teamed. There must be understanding about what do kids learn before they come to me? What are they expected to master and be proficient at while they're with me? What are they expected to learn and master and be proficient at when they pass from me? There has to be an understanding of that, not in isolation. We emphasize that foundational math skills are necessary for later math learning. In Module C, we focus on systematic instruction that is explicit, and it helps students engage in transfer and inquiry. We introduce the clear and do models to do this. So a couple things about this. Explicit instruction has a 0.57 effect size according to John Hattie's meta-research. Meta-research is a whole lot of research that's condensed down into an understandable format. 0.40 effect size equates to 1 year's worth of learning. So it has the impact of 1 year's worth of learning. Anything greater than 0.40 has greater impact than 1 year's worth of learning. So a strategy such as explicit instruction has a much greater impact than a complete and full year's worth of learning. So we must include explicit instruction as one of our strategies. The do part, allowing students to transfer knowledge to other settings on their own accurately and efficiently. Transfer of knowledge, transfer strategies has a 0.86, over 2 times of a 1 year's worth of learning on the impact. We must include strategies like this that have a very sound research base behind them. Also imagine if this becomes our base understanding across the state for explicit instruction, because we use the term all the time. So all of a sudden, if every math teacher across Kansas has this understanding as to what explicit instruction means, how far ahead does that put us immediately? We could have educators, math educators from across the state attend a professional development event anywhere together, and it's about explicit instruction. We no longer have to start by defining explicit instruction, and it's probably different for 90% of the attendees from what they already thought it was. We start at a common ground. If a child leaves a school building to attend another school building, in district or out of district, do you think they honestly go into the same explicit instruction model? Come on now. But what if they did? What if they did? In Module D, we talk about task analysis and error analysis as ways to collect formative assessment data about students. The example on your screen is simply that. It's an example. We're not going to dictate to teachers. We're not going to tell them, oh, this is the way you must do formative assessment. It's a way that you can do formative assessment. However, what we will teach teachers is the importance of all of those things. Task analysis and error analysis are musts. They must know how to perform those things. Formative assessment is a must if you are truly going to be able to instruct your children on a daily basis at the level they need. You cannot instruct a student on a daily basis at the level they need without knowing where they are. It is impossible. So formative assessment must be effective, efficient, quick, understandable, all of those things. So we're going to teach them how to do that. That's what this is. That is an example, not a must do it like this. I just wanted to make that clear. And then finally, Module E, so the last of the 5 modules that every teacher would go through. And this is very important. We introduced the 4 essential components of every math lesson. These 4 components will be taken through all of the grade level modules. All right? So language, understanding, fluency, problem solving. Again, common language, common understanding. Dr. Peter DeWitt, great educator, researcher, author, that's one of his favorite sayings. Common language, common understanding. Can't have one without the other. This is our attempt to begin to build that. So these 4 themes, components, will move throughout all of the rest of the grade level modules. So you ask, grade level modules, what does that mean? Pre-K through grade 2. Notice we've banded these. They will be available for each grade level, but we've also banded them for those schools who are interested into moving in toward proficiency. Grade level 2 modules, we focus on content about early numeracy, addition, subtraction, geometry, measurement, and so on. Each module will review the essential language, understanding, fluency, and problem solving related to that content. So we're bringing those 4 through. Grades 3 through 5. We focus on math content essential for success in these grade levels. Ranges from addition and subtraction to multiplication and division. We also see a lot of content focused on rational numbers, particularly fractions and decimals. Again, reviews the essential language, understanding, fluency, and problem solving related to their content. Grades 6 through 8, we focus on transitional math content, carrying students from elementary understanding to high school proficiency. Content spans from computation to graphing to early proofs. Again, each module reviews essential language, understanding, fluency, and problem solving related to that content. And then finally, high school. We focus on complex math content and principles of learning complex mathematics. Content spans from polynomial equations to geometry to answering and recalling difficult information. Modules here review the essential language and understanding of the content. So with this slide, I want to explain to you how the training is going to be delivered. It's going to be delivered in person as an option, and of course there'll be slide decks, handouts, activities, the ability to work with peers and groups and so forth, much like any workshop or training you might attend in person, right? We also have the Moodle option, where it'll be online, and people will be able to access that 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And we see this exciting because as a standalone teacher, they may be able to say, you know, I have this unit coming up on standard whatever, and I'm struggling a little bit with that standard. So they can go view this module related to that standard in Kansas to get some more self-confidence around that standard. Or a group of teachers may attack it as a group learning project, or a building or a district. They may say, you know what, we're going to use this entire process as part of our professional development plan, and we're going to go from beginning to end. So it's really exciting how this is going to be able to be utilized. We're going to develop training manuals once all of the content is done and been through our process and vetting and so forth for the people who are delivering it in person, obviously, so that we have fidelity to the process. I want to introduce you to Dr. Witzel and Dr. Powell via part of the videos, and so that you can get a feel for what the videos are like. The first one will be Dr. Witzel, and hopefully this works.
Hello and welcome. I'm Brad Witzel. I'm the Adelaide Worth Daniels Distinguished Professor from Western Carolina University, and it is my distinct pleasure to begin the Kansas Math Proficiency Project. Through this project, you're going to learn, I hope, a lot about mathematics, where we're going to talk about some broad strokes in the beginning, and then later on, you'll be able to get into some of the real fine details of your grade level. Let's get started. When you see any of these icons here, activity and discussion, or online resources, that means during those slides, you'll have a chance to either work in an online format if that's where you are, or talk amongst your colleagues if you're doing this as a team. The online resources, of course, pretty obvious. You're going to be able to access additional information if you so seek it. Now, we start out with these 4 modules. The first one is all students can learn, and that's what we're going to begin here today. The second one is progressions that lead to long-term proficiency. And the reasons why it's important to talk about that is mathematics isn't a one-shot deal. We're not just looking for the best second grader or the best ninth grader. Mathematics is a building. It is built on staircases, and we've got to take each stair step in order to help our students grow to where we need them to be in the end. Module C is on systematic and explicit instruction with the great Dr. Sarah Powell. And Module D is on using data to drive instruction and intervention. It doesn't sound like the sexiest of topics, but instruction and intervention is where we're going to need to make our major changes, and we must use data to get there. So let's get started with Module A. All students can learn mathematics, teaching and achieving rigorous mathematics. The purpose of this is to make sure we all know all students can learn math. And as important it is, they can learn a high level of mathematics. It's up to us to adjust and vary how we teach it to help every student learn. So in this part.
So that gives you a taste of a video from Dr. Witzel. Now I'd like to have you watch a brief video from Dr. Powell This one's 4 minutes.
Hi, welcome to Module E of the Kansas Math Proficiency Project. This module is about building students' language, understanding, fluency, and problem solving. My name is Sarah Powell, and I'm here to guide you through this module. Throughout this module and others, you might see these icons. First, we might see this icon where we're going to do different activities. Second, you might see this icon where we're going to ask you to pause and reflect. And third, you might see this icon where we're going to direct you to an online resource. So what is in this Module E? In Module E, we have 4 parts. First, we're going to focus on language and what is important when we are teaching math to students in terms of the language of mathematics. Second, we're going to focus on understanding. We'll briefly talk about the clear, do model to help make sure that students understand the concepts and procedures of math. Then we'll dig into fluency and talk about what's important for building fluency. And finally, we'll think about problem solving and 2 key components of effective problem solving instruction. Now, each of these parts are building blocks for all of the grade level modules that you can access. So in every grade level module, you'll see content related to language, understanding, fluency, and problem solving. So this Module E sets up all of that grade level material. I would like you to think about what we mean when we talk about language, understanding, fluency, and problem solving. So let's briefly review this vocabulary to make sure that we're all on the same page. So first, let's talk about language. We are going to define language today as that vocabulary that is used within mathematics to describe different math concepts and procedures. So in this module, we will emphasize through all of our math instruction that we are going to use formal math language and use terms with precision. Second, when we talk about understanding, we mean that development of both conceptual and procedural knowledge in mathematics. And in this module and all of the modules, we will really emphasize that all math instruction needs to be designed to help students understand the mathematics. Third, when we talk about fluency, well, what does fluency mean? Well, fluency means doing math easily and accurately. So all of our math instruction is going to have embedded fluency activities to help students develop a very strong foundation in mathematics. And then fourth, what do we mean by problem solving? Well, this will mean setting up and solving text-based problems. Many times you call those word problems. So all of our math instruction throughout all of these modules and all of your math instruction that you do in the classroom will have to embed problem-solving modeling and practice so that students become very proficient with setting up and solving different types of word problems. So let's go to our first part. We're first going to talk about language, and then we'll talk about understanding, then we'll talk about fluency and problem solving. But before we get into that, I want you to look at this list of important components of math instruction. And I'd like you to pause right now and think, what are your strengths and what are your opportunities for growth? Is there something on this list of components that you would like to do better with or learn more about so that you can be an excellent math instructor? Go ahead and pause now and think about your strengths and your opportunities for growth.
So that gives you an idea of how the videos are going to go. There's going to be some instruction, some talk, and then pausing for exercises, whether it's a reflection, a worksheet, or an assessment. There are going to be assessments built into the Moodle site, because we hope to have a micro-credentialing or certification process so that people can be recognized for the effort that they put into this. This is going to take time and effort to go through this, and there's going to be an accountability parts that districts will have control of. They will be able to see who in their district is going through this process and whether or not they are meeting the accountability measures to come out on the other side. And if they do, they should be recognized through some type of certification or micro-credentialing. So 2 more things that I wanted to bring to your attention. On the left side, of the logo. These are the folks, obviously Dr. Powell, Dr. Witzel, you know what they're doing. The other folks on the left side are our reviewers, our feedback folks. These are educators across the state of Kansas, math educators and professors, pre-K through collegiate. They get their hands dirty every time we develop anything. It goes through the feedback process twice at least. They've been wonderful. They provide so much feedback, and it really puts the fingerprints of Kansas on it like no other. It makes it Kansas, which is just great. They've been awesome. On the right side of logo is my team listed, our Kansas MTSS and alignment math specialist and pre-K specialist. And Crystal Porter somehow got omitted from here. She's our training manager, and she does all the logistics, which is a nightmare, but she does a great job of it. And then on the right side are the 8 districts across Kansas who have agreed to participate in our pilot training. We had 2 training days in the fall, and we have 2 more training days coming up in February. And they send large teams of people to participate and give us real-time feedback on the process, on the materials, on the lecture pieces, everything, videos, everything. And it has been absolutely phenomenal. And I can tell you they're excited. They've taken some of the pieces back and used them already, even though they're not, fully fledged out, but they're excited about it. So we couldn't have done it without this partnership with these folks. And I think it's important to note that this is being developed so that it is aligned with current state mathematics standards, and it will again be owned and housed within KSDE forever. This will allow any tweaks to be made that are necessary so that the deliverable is always relevant and aligned to Kansas state standards and outcomes. This would not have been possible if a boxed program would have been purchased off the shelf. As stated earlier, the KSDE initiative is under the directive of Commissioner Watson, former Deputy Commissioner Neuenswander, and current Deputy Commissioner Proctor, and under the direction of Dr. David Fernkoff and Dr. Stephen King. I'd also like to recognize Denise Kaler and her team here at KSDE. They're responsible for the branding of all this material we send her way, and her team has been just outstanding. Turnaround time's amazing, just an amazing team to work with. My team is simply the conduit through which the necessary pieces have been able to be obtained and put together and disseminated, and we're truly honored to be a part of this work. So thank you for your time this morning. While I am certainly not the person to be answering any questions related to any mathematical content, I would be happy to take any questions, and I'll ascertain the answers and get them back to you as soon as I can. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for your presentation. We have a question from Ann.
Thank you. I wish 50 years ago we had been teaching, when I was doing teacher training, we learned nothing about brain science or how you learned, I don't know how I taught anything actually, but, and I wish the legislature could see some of this because they always talk about how, oh, you guys don't even emphasize academics anymore. And I wish they understood that everything we do in this body is directed toward improved student learning because they are learning stuff so much earlier. I was trying to help my 8th grade granddaughter with some slope problems, and I'm going, oh my gosh, let me think. Rise over run. So we did some slope problems, and then her 2nd grade brother walked in, and I said, Damon, we're working on slope. And he said, oh, rise over run. And I thought, oh my gosh, they're learning in 2nd grade what I learned as a 10th grader. So my question, a couple of them, are we going to be incorporating this into our teacher preparation programs like we're incorporating the structured literacy?
We are attempting to do that, yes. We're currently working with a couple colleges, universities, to pilot it at that level and in hopes of making it work there so that we have a blueprint for how to scale that then at that point.
Okay. And I know we have some formative assessments in math, but do we have them K through 12 ready to go to supplement in the classroom?
Are you talking about KSDE's formatives? I cannot answer that question.
We have those grades 3 through 8 and grade 10.
Oh, okay.
And then there's formative and interims.
Both?
Yes, part of what Ben talked to you about yesterday with the balanced literacy approach, of looking at more than one set of data to make your informed decisions.
And we're getting ready to do those in science as well, right? Are we? Okay, great. My last question is, when you said all teachers, like all 9 through 12 teachers, did you mean every teacher or just the math teachers?
Teachers of mathematics.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
That's it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I want to ask you, how does this help move students out of level 1?
So the thought is, once we improve teaching for all students, then that should translate to higher achievement on the student's part. If you go back to the clear do model, for example, if that becomes the way instruction is done and it's followed through the do model, then the students should be able to transfer their learning into different situations, and that should produce higher achievement results, including on a state assessment.
Okay, thank you.
So I think most of you know I'm a social studies teacher. I'm a history major. But early in life, learning came easy to me. And somewhere around 3rd grade, we played a game that many of you will remember called Around the World, where we were seated in rows. I remember Mrs. Bynum's class, and she'd use flashcards, 9 times 3, 8 times 4, whatever it was. And if I was doing Around the World, I'd stand next to Melanie, and they'd flash it, and whoever got it first either took her seat. And if you went all the way around the world, you got a star. And Kay Small and I were intense on beating each other. And anyway, from that, the math people decided, outside of me, you should be in advanced math, starting in 4th grade, which led then to early algebra and early geometry. I can tell you this, I knew nothing about math. I was really good at memorizing. And when I got to algebra and geometry, the lights were off. And I remember, I think all of you will have this somewhere in your life. For kids that struggle, you talk about dyslexia, it happens early. For me, it happened in late middle school, what would now be middle school. I'm sitting in front of the teacher going, I have no idea what you're saying. And he says, I'm teaching you how to think. And I'm like, you don't think in math. You just teach this formula, and I memorize it, and I do really well. Teachers, elementary teachers, this is not a criticism. We're trying to really help them on teaching literacy, which is really hard. But Todd said, you can go to almost any adult that isn't a math teacher, and they will say to you, this wasn't very good in math. We can be good in math. We have this thought that it's related to someone that has this innate ability, but it comes down the way we teach. This is even a bigger lift than your Science of Reading Literacy project. It's a bigger lift because you're changing a culture of attitude that only people that are going to be engineers or astronauts or medical people or teachers of math can go into it. And in fact, teachers of mathematics look at people like me and go, nah, you just don't see math the way I do, so let me dumb it down for you and teach you these rules that you can memorize and get these answers when they don't see math that way. I remember sitting in class with the most gifted student we ever had in McPherson. And I said to him, Brian, he was in Calculus 2. And the teacher's right on the board. He says, I already know the answer. He said, I just see it as a whole. He's teaching them how to do it in parts, and I see the whole thing as a whole. And I said, wow, that's really interesting. You see it different than every other. And he said, yeah, I do. So I just think the work that they're doing, it's a big lift, but I think it's really important. So thank you, Todd, and everyone that did this work.
But thank you.
Thank you again. You've been spared any further questions, so appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Board members, we're going to take a 10-minute break. We'll be back at 10:30. All right, as a reminder, we have removed item 7, Act on Licensure Regulations, from the agenda, and so we're on number 6, Announcement of Board Member Committee Assignments. Barbara has a list that's going to be passed around, and I will read all of the assignments so that those online on YouTube later have an opportunity to hear those. So in no particular order, starting with Michelle Dombrowski, you have the Kansas School for the Deaf again, KSD, KNEA bargaining team, which is related to School for the Deaf, Communications Committee for the State Board, and the Student Voice Committee. Jim McNeese will be on the Governor's Education Council, Education Commission of the States, ECS, SEAC, the Special Education Advisory Council, and the Communications Committee for the State Board with Michelle. Mr. Porter will be on the Governor's Education Council, Capital Improvement, Bond and Interest State Aid Review, Confidence in Kansas Public Education Task Force, Coordinating Council, and the Commissioner's Task Force on ESSER and EANS. Mr. Zach, you will be on Charter and Virtual Education Advisory Council, Interstate Migrant Education Council, and the Student Voice Committee. And then Mr. Hirschberger, I have you in Agriculture in the Classroom, the Kansas Learning First Alliance, ESA, the ESSA, ESEA Board Representative, the Kansas Prescription Drug and Opioid Advisory Committee. Dina Horst was elected yesterday to the Policy Committee and will also serve on the Kansas Master Teacher Award Selection Committee, the Kansas Foundation for Excellence Teacher of the Year. And then Kathy Hopkins will also be on the Policy Committee, as well as the Kansas Council for Economic Education, Professional Standards Board Liaison, and the Commissioner's Task Force on ESSER and EANS. Personally, I will serve as the liaison for the Kansas State School for the Blind, the Kansas Volunteer Commission, which I think I need to point out that's a recommendation for an appointment, correct, Commissioner?
Yes, the governor actually makes that appointment.
And then the Kansas Alliance for Education Advocacy, Kansas Association for Conservation and Environmental Education, which I currently serve on, the Coordinating Council, and the Computer Science Standards Implementation Committee. Ann Ma will be on the Kansas Advisory Committee on Indigenous Education Working Group, as she is currently, the Kansas Advisory Committee for Career and Technical Education, the Professional Standards Board, and the Teacher Vacancy and Supply Committee. And Betty Arnold, who is not here today, will serve on the Policy Committee, the Student Voice Committee, and the School Mental Health Advisory Council. So you have your lists of committee assignments, which last through 2025. And we will skip agenda item 7 and move on to Sunflower Summer. So Commissioner, I believe that's you.
Thank you. If you could turn in your agenda to page 260, and I'll give you a few moments to get there. Instead of showing you a PowerPoint slide, I'm just going to refer to your agenda. So page 260, and I'm hoping that you see on page 260 a title that says 2023 Go Big Program Planning. If you don't, maybe it's actually a okay, it's a PowerPoint slide that was shown last time. So it's page 260. And as you're looking at that, let me go back and explain again, what is Sunflower Summer? Going back to that learning loss that I talked about, the federal government said, state of Kansas, all 50 states need to set aside a small portion of their money for statewide activities related to loss of learning created by the pandemic. The state board at that time voted to create a summer program where any student, homeschool, private, public, age 4 through high school senior, could go with an adult to any I call it an attraction, museum, library, exploration place, Cosmosphere, park and wildlife, partner with them and have summer experiences. Last year was the second summer of that. You allocated money to do 4 summers. It's been so widely successful, overwhelmingly successful, that we don't believe without throttling it down, we could do 2 more summers. We could limit it, meaning cut it short, or you can only go to 1 or 2. But on page 60, you can see what we're asking you to consider today, and was discussed last month, is that we end Sunflower Summer with this summer, that we spend the remaining money that you have allocated, it's already been allocated, and instead of going 2 summers, we allow parents, grandparents, adults, and young people to attend over 104 venues in Kansas, from the Big Well and the Ball of Twine to, again, the zoos and Exploration Place, the dinosaur exhibit in Wichita. Also, day camps will have opportunities to be involved in day camps throughout the summer that are run throughout the state. If they want to partake in those, Kansas State and Greenbush will offer those. And then the Wildlife and Parks will offer 3 and 4 day excursions throughout the state where families can go out and camp, and there'll be activities there of learning. We will consider creating some video and artifacts that can live on and be used in classrooms after the money is gone. We want to make sure that every family gets an opportunity to attend any of these events. So instead of the ask today and for the motion is to really go from the summer of 23 and the summer of 24 to take the existing money that's been allocated and just go for the summer of 23. So again, most widely successful thing we've done in a long time. I think you've had people come before you. I think last year a family said, this was our vacation. We could not have taken a vacation without this. And they're taking the money and spending it on Kansas economy and venues in Kansas. We get a little bit sometimes, Melanie, Michelle, you probably hear this. Well, what about Missouri? Can we go over to that World War I music? No, we can't do it in Missouri. But you can go to Big Brutus if you want to down in southeast Kansas. So be happy to answer any questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Does anyone have questions about Sunflower Summer? Dennis?
Yeah, well, Randy, so the main purpose of combining the 2 summers is just to make better use of what's available? Are families asking for this? Or
we would have to limit the either how many times families could go, Dennis, or we'd have to limit how many days it was open in order to, and we only have so much money, and looking at how much money we spent last year and projecting, we think we'd either have to, we call it throttle it back to get 2 summers out of it, or we could just run it like we have been and probably spend all the money this summer. And so we're asking you to do that, kind of go big, just spend the money this summer. And then the money would be done. Again, this is ESSER funds, so this is the federal money that comes in and then used across the board.
I think you forgot about one festival.
What did I forget?
The Outhouse Festival in Elk Falls.
How did I miss that?
Ann?
Thank you. I think what a lot of people don't realize, I mean, this was wildly successful and, just really, hyperbolically the second year over the first one, but I don't think a lot of people understand how important this is, particularly to low-income families. I mean, I wouldn't think of anything of spending $20 to take the grandkids somewhere, but that's out of range for so many families, and so this really opened the doors to a lot of families to get out and do things. My only request would be that whatever we're going to do, particularly the day camps and the campouts, the family campouts, which were amazing. I couldn't believe the crowd that showed up last year, that we get that information out earlier this year if we can. It seemed like a lot of that was out so close to when it started, people didn't have time to get that on their calendars or, you know what I mean, explore those particularly day camp options.
Okay. I do not see any additional questions. Do we have a motion? Jim?
I move the Kansas State Board of Education approve the plans presented for December 2022 board meeting for expenditure of the remaining money associated with Sunflower Summer Program in 2023. By the way, and as a matter of fact, this has been tremendously successful and has been especially helpful for families that could not afford to do so otherwise. And I apologize for the commentary when I'm making the motion.
Is that a second from Dina? All right. Any additional discussion or questions? All in favor, raise your hand. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 opposed. 1 abstain. 1, 2. Motion passes. All right. Oops. And finally, Denise is here to talk with us about the 2023 Kansas Superintendent of the Year. I think it's going to be Dale, yep. Welcome, sir.
I know quite a bit about him. He's nervous. It's good to be here, though. You're honored today. Truly, truly mean that. This gentleman we're going to introduce here in a minute has been a superintendent of schools in 252 Southern Lyon County for 16 years. Been very active in the Chamber of Commerce, the Hospital Board, the United Way. Also, he's been president of the School Superintendent Association. He also, in a district with 500 kids and 2 high schools, there's some challenges involved with that. He was able to secure grants that total over $5 million during his tenure, which is pretty good because he had to do it all. He's played another active role in something that's kind of unique and probably done more of this than anybody in the state, and that's they sponsored honor flights for the veterans. He's done that since the 2015-16 year, and what makes this yearly unique, all the money for this has to be raised. And it costs $42,000 a trip, and most years he's made 2 trips. Try to raise that in a small rural district, and there's a challenge involved with that. But he's taken 260 veterans, and each one of them is assigned a student to go with them. And in addition to that, that cost about $42,000 a trip. 2 of them a year. Think about that. Raise that kind of money in a district that size. You got to have a lot of credibility. One other thing that really stuck out, and Randy and I have talked about this quite a bit. The Star Award program was initiated, I think, 3 years ago? And you can get a gold and a silver, copper, bronze, and it's for high school graduation, academically prepare, students academically prepared for post-secondary success, social emotional growth, kindergarten readiness, individual plans of study, and so forth. There's 8 categories. We had 1 school district in the state that got a star in all 8 categories. Only 1. It's a pleasure to introduce the Honorable Mike Algebright, Superintendent of the Year for 2013, chosen by his colleagues.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman, Dr. Watson, and board members. It's an honor to be here. Some of you I know. Some of you were in my doctorate study. Dina, thank you for that, on early childhood. Give just a little background about myself and some things that we're doing, and some appreciation, most important appreciation to all the good people that I work with and get to be around. I'm a Northwest Kansas farm kid, very proud of that, from Atwood. Spent a couple years coaching there and trying to farm until the drought kind of ran me out. And my wife was homesick, and she's from Wichita. Dodge City Community College, Wichita State University, I'm a shocker, although I support Pittsburgh State with 2 of my children, and currently K-State with 1 of my children. My wife Carla is a title teacher in Madison. I spent 16 years at Eureka. Great people down there, and this is my 17th year where I'm at right now as superintendent in South Lyon County. My 3 communities are Neosho Rapids, Hartford, which is where my office is at, and Neosho Rapids feeds Hartford. And then Olpe has 2 buildings that are connected. We generally call them 1, but technically they're 2. So we essentially wrap around the south side and east side of Emporia to give you a demographic. Our kiddos We have one building that in the 17 years will get below 10% free lunches, usually hangs around 10 to 12. And then one of my buildings on the other side generally runs between 65 and up over 80% in the 17 years. So very diverse demographics, a lot of different needs, but that's challenging, and that's what makes it exciting from my seat. That's what fuels me, are the challenges. I've just been honored and blessed to be around great people all my career, mentors that have helped me, and you've got great educators across this state, and I hope you always keep that in mind when you make decisions. There's great people working with kids every day, and they need our support and our encouragement. And then those graduates coming out of college and before, we need to encourage people to get in this profession. I tell our people, I tell our teachers every week, encourage someone to be a teacher. That's what got in for me, a librarian that told me she thought I'd be a good teacher. Never forgot it. We need more people doing that with kids, because it does make a difference. And in a profession that we're preparing kids for every career this world has to offer, there's nothing more awesome than being a professional educator, and nothing more important than being a professional educator, regardless of where you're at doing it. So we need everyone's help, and I know all of you do that, but we got to be intentional and do that, and get more people in the pipeline. We're short on teachers, we're short on administrators, we're short on superintendents, but we got to start with teachers. That's where it starts, and move those people through those channels. So it was beyond humbling being a candidate and being nominated #1 for Superintendent of the Year. Because of all the great people I work with, I know that there's people that are very deserving of that. So I'm very appreciative. At the same time, I have colleagues that could be standing here as easy as I am. I don't mean it as easy as I am, but they could be standing here and should be standing here. So I just appreciate all the support and things that have happened along the way. My mentors, I couldn't do this job. I don't know how a superintendent does it without having friends and colleagues and mentors, because you're literally standing alone a lot of the time, and you got to have someone you can call and say, and sometimes when they would tell me, I'll never forget Steve Moloch, you remember, Mike, you may want to rethink that. Well, that was really saying, Mike, dum-dum, look at this differently. But I just have always appreciated those people that have kind of shaped me along the way, and how important colleagues and mentors and friends are within our business and our world. Some of probably the things that I'm most proud of, when you've been someplace 17 years, I'll probably leave something off that I probably should note. Our early childhood program started from the ground roots. It started at a board meeting with one of my board members that said, Mike, any chance we can have daycare, not early childhood, daycare? And my eyes got pretty big, and I said, well, I know we can handle 3 and 4-year-olds, and we had 4-year-olds part-time a half a day, I think 4 days a week, maybe 5. I know we can expand that, and we need to expand that. But the daycare thing kind of threw me a little bit, to be very honest. But that's where it started. Community input, interest, lack of in our communities having daycare. And to this day, we have 2 centers opened. We serve probably over 120 kiddos from 6 weeks of age, which is a challenge. It's a challenge finding staffing it ratio-wise, to 5-year-olds. And our communities, if I said we couldn't do that, I would have to update my resume as fast as I could and move on, because that's how important it is to our communities that we serve right now. So that's been very promising, and we have good people doing great things, and we're already out of space after even a bond election. We did pass a bond election in a 3-to-1 fashion, and all 3 of my communities supported that, and there was a lot of work that went into that, but That was very, very rewarding, and I think we completed that in 2020. The honor flight's been just beyond a pleasure. It's been beyond anything that words could do justice. It's a true public piece of combining generations of kiddos to veterans of all ages. We've had World War II, and right now most of our veterans are Vietnam veterans, to be honest. Have a few Koreans still. But the relationships that has created, our veterans come to games, they come to events, they come to graduations, they come to plays, they wear their attire, and it's just priceless. I don't know how else to describe it beyond that. So that's been a very rewarding program. We have tried to stay really up to date in technology over the years. We pride ourselves in that. I think probably the latest, and COVID set us back, but this is the farm kid coming out of me too here, but we implemented a drone technology program that through some grants that got us started, the Monsanto/Bayer grants, where we partner with farmers, and we have some $10,000 to $12,000, $14,000 drones that are out there, and the biggest challenge is everybody's afraid to wreck them. And I'll say, let me fly them, I'll wreck them. You don't, but they won't let me fly them. But it's truly rewarding. The challenge is we keep turning over kids, and then you have to go back and start them. And right when you get to a point, with a farmer that we can run that 80 acres and give you some great feedback, we're rotating again. So we're not quite in sync, but it's just a fun program, something quite different. And there's a lot of jobs in drones outside of farming. There's a lot of jobs in drones. So that's been fun and exciting. So I could talk, and I know you probably don't need me to talk. I've been blessed. I've got great staff, great people. There's only there's 3 administrators in our district, me and 2 principals. They wear a lot of hats. The one thing I would compliment all of you on is the vision of our state board is very important to the job that I have to do every day. Dr. Watson and the team that put all that together and the research that went into that, we know where we need to go. If someone tells you they don't, they need to go back. We know where we need to go. The state goals incorporates the whole child. That's important for what we do, the whole child, from little to big. And we know what the targets are. I'm appreciative of that. We believe in that in South Lyon County. The state goals were our drivers during COVID. That was our priority. And every one of our teachers sits on a committee, mostly of their choice, if not their first choice, their second choice, within all the STAR categories, because we want them to own how they're developing kids. We want them to be an integral part, because they're in the trench. And we believe in that, and I thank you for that, because it is important for us out in the field. We got to know where we're going, why we're going that direction, and what the product should look like at the end. We'll never be 100%, but we're going to work at it. We're always going to work at it. So I thank you for that. So I'd entertain questions or comments, or go sit down.
Not at all. Thank you, Dr. Argabright, and thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your commitment to the students, the families, your community. There was not a dry eye in the House, I don't think, when they came and presented the Honor Flight program here a few months back. And it's just one of the many amazing things that you're doing. Ann does have a comment, so I'll start with Ann.
Thank you, and thanks for all you do. I just can't think of how many times I sit in on the Greenbush superintendent's calls when I can, and they're talking about problems, and Southern Lyon County, is doing that really well. So thank you for all you do. Yeah, I think it was back in 2015 when we did the statewide, focus groups with a couple thousand parents and teachers and business people that said that schools need to get kids more involved in civic engagement. And it was at parents' request that showed up on our list of priorities and goals. But some people say, well, I just don't understand how civic engagement improves student learning. And your Honor Flight thing was just freaking amazing. Could you explain to folks how civic engagement improves student learning?
Sure, and I'm going to shoot from my hip a little bit. Outside the honor flight, we also do kids vote, and I did that as a principal at Eureka. We continued it where I'm at. That gets kids involved in the voting process, why that's important, and we allow kids to go with parents to go vote, but they also vote at school, and we tally those things. That's civic engagement. We also get our kids involved in the legislative platforms. And our student councils engaged in different civic pieces of community service. But it's absolutely important for kids to know why you need to be involved. And our community service, one of them, Honor Flight, is just that. When we tell our kids, when you get out in the real world, you need to be involved in that community that you reside in. It's that important, and we try to give them examples of why it's important with real hands-on types of things. So I hope I touched on that, but it's absolutely integrated into the curriculum because it's hands-on. That's why it's important. And the more we can get out of the classroom and connect our community partners, which we do a lot of that in our district, then it becomes real to the kids, in my belief.
So it helps them connect what they're learning in class with why they need to know it.
That's correct.
Absolutely. Thank you
That's
so much
correct.
for all you do.
You're welcome.
Dennis.
Well, nice to meet you, Mike, and congratulations. I enjoy your vision. Some clarification on, you mentioned the difference between free lunch being so different in your district. Can you tell us a little bit why that is, maybe from demographics or domestic issues, or why is it so different?
I think it's more of the demographics. I want to be careful here. Housing has a big part of demographics in any community, in my opinion, okay? And so there's, in my communities, there's a lot of people that sit with 5, 10, 40 acres, 80 acres, okay, around that whole area that either commute to Topeka, Emporia, Wolf Creek, the nuclear plant. But a lot of working class parents in some of my communities and some not so much maybe, or their jobs are not of a threshold, obviously, to most of our parents work, but maybe they don't have that threshold. But I would best describe it as the demographics of the areas, and I don't think that's unique to us.
Right, I'm just trying to understand, I'm new at this. And childcare seems to be a new thing that you've initiated. And is there any faith-based co-oping? I mean, a lot of churches have daycare, and I know that there has to be some licensing and that type of thing that goes on, but have you explored that at all?
That's a great question. We would. When I started the daycare option, out of the 3 communities, only 2 of them had a daycare, or maybe I think one had 2. One of them didn't have any. Now we just have 1 community that has one that I'm aware of, and that's why it's a need. We would partner with anybody. To answer your question, we brought community groups in when I started this because we didn't want to threaten them. That was not our intention at all. We wanted to partner with them. And we have at times with different devices and curriculum, if that's a need of theirs. But I think the important piece to your question, because that looks different in every community of any size, you do have to partner to make that happen. The whole early childhood daycare world, I use the term blended funding. You have to have a lot of pieces to make that whole picture happen. You have to. And that is one of those pieces that you asked me, but it's just a piece to make it all work within a community. And it takes a lot. There's a lot of moving parts with daycare.
And young families are really stressed, and I'm trying to, I want to encourage you to, work in that direction if you can, because I think there's some really opportunities, in faith-based co-oping, and we can explore that in the future, but I'm encouraged by your efforts. So thank
Yeah,
you.
sometimes it's, when you say faith-based, in a lot of smaller communities that I'm aware of, sometimes it's facilities. And so school districts will tie into that. But there's other pieces you have to connect. I'm oversimplifying here, but that is an option.
Okay, thank you.
Jim Porter.
Thank you. I'm pleased to say that I've known Mike for 20 years or so when he was principal. He's been too humble. He is really well respected in the state. And I just wanted to, again, congratulate you. You're on the ESSER task force. We meet on Friday afternoons, by Zoom. He's been a leadership in the superintendent's organization and is well respected across the state. And I just wanted to say, you downplayed your position because you are highly respected in the state, and I appreciate first knowing you and being able to work with you, and want to again publicly congratulate you. And you're well deserved. The honor is well deserved.
Thank you, Jim.
If you don't mind, I'd like to ask you one last question.
You bet.
You have the ear of the state board here. So as a superintendent, would you like to share your thoughts on the superintendent and teacher shortage in Kansas right now?
That's probably my number one concern. And I'm going to circle back to, I think it takes an effort on all of our part, more individually than group, to encourage people to do it, and why. Because those pools are very small. We have a business opening, a retirement that we knew about in November. We don't have any applicants. Outstanding program. She's been there a long time. And it scares me to think, what? The what? We have a science opening that we have no applicants, and we sit in the back door of Emporia State. So in a lot of people's perspectives, people think we get what we want when we want it. That's not true. We hired an elementary position late, but May is late anymore. Didn't used to be, but it is. With a person with a bachelor's degree that wants to be a teacher, and we're doing the transition with someone overseeing him. But I didn't think that would hit us already with elementary. So it's real, it's there, and until we get more people in the pipeline, whether that's loan forgiveness, I've advocated for that at either state or federal level. At the mentorships and the grow your own, we're already doing that. We adapted our mentor program to include grow your own just last year, and it actually a lot of it came from my own teachers, and I just applauded them. How do we need to help bring on people that are not skilled yet, but that's all we have. So we embedded that into our own mentor program, a piece of that. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but that is my biggest concern. And it's no different in the superintendent pool. But we have to start with teachers, in my opinion. We have to start and grow them up, because those are the experiences that you need to be a building principal and then a superintendent. And we're putting people in positions with not much experience right now, and they're going to need a lot of support.
I appreciate your creativity and problem solving, your leadership. I want to congratulate you on this fantastic honor. So
Thank you.
I think we want to take some photos. Yep. Photo op.
Oh, thank you.
If you don't mind.
Good job. Thank you.
Oh, there he is. He's over there.
We're gonna have everybody in, so. Yep, everyone. Yeah. Okay. have everybody together.
We're a little bit, excuse me, we are a little bit early, but we are going to go ahead and wrap things up here today. We won't adjourn until 3:30 when our board retreat has concluded. So the scheduled board members is that at 11, well, we were scheduled to recess at 11:30. We will be at the Topeka Shawnee County Public Library for the CTSO luncheon at 12 noon. And then the board retreat is at the Kansas Health Institute at 1:30.
If you want, you may, if you want, you may think about carpooling to the library, and you can come back and park here. So whether it's decent, I think it is. We're just walking.